She had a reputation for being feisty. We couldn't overlook the feeling we had when we brought the baby out. This was one we couldn't overlook. Princess Charlotte did not appear to be a royal as she surreptitiously boarded a plane. She mingled with other children while disguised, until a flight attendant detected something strange. The passengers were astonished by what transpired next. Before long, everyone in England was speaking. Charlotte was flying covertly, but why? And what action by the flight attendant created such a commotion? Motivation and setup. The regulations have always been obeyed by Princess Charlotte. Every action was prearranged. All of the events were planned. However, as she grew older, things began to feel different. She observed her school pals leading typical lives. They spent their holidays traveling with their relatives, going to the shopping, and hanging out at sleepovers. Charlotte began to feel excluded. For a short time, she aspired to be like them. Isla, her best friend, had just relocated to Scotland. At school, they used to see each other every day. These days, though, they only spoke during lunch breaks or via notes from teachers. She was missed by Charlotte. Above all, she longed to pay her a visit over the school break, but she was aware that it would never be permitted by royal regulations. At that point, she devised her covert strategy. Without anybody noticing, she would go to see Isla. No cameras, no security, no royal cars. A straightforward journey. She had to travel like any other adolescent to make it work. Instead of boarding a royal jet, she chose to take a civilian flight. It was thrilling but risky. Charlotte has no intention of breaking the rules indefinitely. She yearned for a single moment of independence. Before returning to life in the palace, one little escapade. Charlotte was aware that everything needed to go well. She would be in serious danger if anyone found out. She began by selecting basic clothing. No shining shoes or royal gowns. She was dressed in comfy sneakers, pants, and a hoodie. She wore a cap over her face and had her hair wrapped up. She had the appearance of any other adolescent traveling. She booked a flight with the pocket money she had saved. Her entire name was not used. She booked it as Charlotte Wales instead. It allowed her to remain undetected. To fit in with the crowd, she chose a low-cost airline. She just brought a few items in her tiny backpack. It had her phone, a book, and some munchies. She used a school tablet to call Isla's mother. She requested for assistance and explained the strategy to her. Isla's mother consented and promised to come get her at the airport. Charlotte was both excited and a little anxious. Charlotte claimed to have a lengthy study session so she could go without anyone knowing. At school, she silently went out a side door. Her heart was pounding rapidly. She grinned to herself as she eventually boarded the aircraft. Her journey had begun. She had no idea that her ideal plan was going to go horribly wrong. Her peaceful journey will be turned into a nightmare by one passenger on that aircraft. Airport encounter. After getting off the bus, Charlotte surveyed the crowded airport. People were moving in all directions. A few of them had suitcases. Some spoke on the phone. Keeping her small rucksack close at hand, she checked in by following the signs. Her heart was pounding rapidly. However, nobody gave her a glance. She felt a little more confident after that. She presented her ticket and name at the check-in desk. The employee grinned as she printed her boarding card. Being handled like any other traveler was pleasant. She walked to security with her head down. Then she put her belongings in a tray at the security checkpoint. She passed her shoes, phone, and backpack through the scanner. Through the gate she went. She was waved forward by the guard. Nobody questioned her or stopped her. It was her. Then she looked around the airport. She ate a sandwich while sitting in the food court. She observed passers-by. A few people hurried to their gates. Others sipped their coffee while they waited. She glanced at a few stores, stroked a plush scarf, and grinned at some teenagers who were laughing close by. Charlotte was liberated. Despite being alone, she felt content. No cameras. Not a guard, only people. She felt like one of them for once. And the entire journey was worthwhile because of that. Charlotte joined her group when they were summoned. With her ticket in hand, she walked carefully. After checking it, the gatekeepers allowed her to pass. She went through the tube and boarded the aircraft. She took a seat by the window. She couldn't wait to get outside. The middle seat was already occupied by a woman. She appeared friendly and at ease. Charlotte smiled slightly and took a seat. Emma, the woman explained, was her name. She was traveling to Edinburgh for a job with a corporation. A young man soon took the seat in the aisle. Jake, he said, was his name. He was a student taking a break and returning home. They both appeared laid back and kind. Charlotte joined the conversation after hearing their tales. She informed them of her school and mentioned that she was going to see a friend. Emma gave her some gum. Jake displayed a few pictures on his phone to her. They discussed travel, novels, and amusing school-related topics. Nobody behaved oddly. They handled her just like any other girl. Charlotte felt secure and accepted. Her knees met the one in front of her, and the seat was little. However, she enjoyed it. It was authentic. She grinned as she peered out the window. She was enjoying the opportunity to be free. Charlotte believed her plan was functioning flawlessly and felt elated and liberated. However, someone on the aircraft was unhappy because they were observing everything she did. The dispute arose. At first, Charlotte was content in her seat. She ate her snack, listened to the gentle sound of the jet, and gazed out the window. She eventually started to feel a little hungry once more. Grinning, she requested more snack from Rebecca, the flight attendant. Rebecca said, "Wait like everyone else," with a frustrated expression. Charlotte didn't know what she had done wrong, and her voice sounded icy. Later, the sun was streaming through the window too brightly. "Could the shade be lowered?" Charlotte asked. "Take care of it," Rebecca responded after glancing at her. "I'm occupied." Charlotte remained silent, staring down at her hands. Her juice spilled on her tray after a little while. With a gasp, she grabbed a napkin. "You're clumsy," Rebecca murmured as she hurried over. "Be mindful of your actions." Charlotte felt worse as a result. She requested a blanket as she began to feel chilly. "This isn't a hotel," Rebecca remarked, crossing her arms. Her words were all piercing. Rebecca continued to act rudely, whereas Charlotte spoke quietly and courteously. She even whispered something about pampered youths. Some in the vicinity looked around. Emma had an anxious expression. Jake scowled. People were beginning to realize something was wrong. There was considerable turbulence, and the plane began to shake a little. After falling out of Charlotte's lap, her phone fell into the aisle. Before it could get too far, she stooped to seize it. Rebecca passed by carrying a tray at the same moment. She just stumbled, but did not fall. "You're always in the way," she replied with a furious expression. She spoke loudly enough for other people to hear. After sitting up, Charlotte put the phone back in her chair. Rebecca didn't stop, but she remained silent. "What kind of home do you come from?" she asked, standing motionless in the aisle. "You have no idea how to behave on an airplane." Charlotte's throat constricted. "I just wanted to be normal," she murmured quietly after lowering her gaze. "Normal?" Rebecca asked, chuckling. "You're behaving like a little princess who believes she is entitled to things." There was silence. Emma had a startled expression. Jake gazed at Rebecca. "That's not okay," muttered a man in the rear. Once more, Charlotte peered out the window. She had tears in her eyes. She remained silent, while wiping her face with her sleeve. She wanted this trip to be enjoyable and unrestricted. It felt difficult now, though. She began to lose the joy she had experienced earlier. In the hopes that the difficulty would end, Charlotte made an effort to remain silent and courteous. However, her secret was about to be revealed in the most disastrous way imaginable. The moment of discovery. Emma couldn't stop thinking about Charlotte. There was something familiar about her soft voice, manner of sitting, and manner of speaking. Then she realized that face was familiar to her. Perhaps in the news or on TV. After giving it another glance, she was certain it was Princess Charlotte. Emma remained silent. She was aware that Charlotte had made a concerted effort to keep things quiet. But she couldn't ignore Rebecca's impolite behavior. She pulled out her phone and began to record. She did not raise the camera. Her video demonstrated Rebecca's acerbic speech and careless passing of Charlotte. Charlotte remained silent and continued to gaze out the window. She wished no one would notice her. Jake, meanwhile, was also observing from his seat on the opposite side. "She looks like someone important," he added, leaning closer. Emma gave a nod. She thought the same thing. They both began to realize that Charlotte had desired a low-key vacation. No special treatment, no titles. All it takes is one day to feel like a normal girl. Emma continued to record. She was aware that this needed to be seen, not because Charlotte was well known, but because this is not how anyone should be treated. As Emma watched Charlotte sit by herself, she felt depressed. She was aware that assistance was on the way though. Now someone would pay attention. Emma opened her phone and uploaded the footage as soon as the plane touched down. Charlotte's face was obscured by her young royal treated badly on flight by staff, she wrote. Rebecca's speech was the main emphasis of the video. Everyone could hear it. Jake told his story too. He posted a brief message on his school's Facebook. He described a reserved child who maintained her composure in the face of unjust treatment. Nor did he mention Charlotte's name. The details, however, were immediately apparent to readers. Soon, both posts were being shared. A few more remarks. Others speculated. It was noted that the girl resembled Princess Charlotte. Her voice was matched by someone else in an earlier video. The guesses continued to increase. Princess Charlotte flight, the hashtag number sign, emerged and took off. A growing number of people joined the discussion. Some were taken aback by Rebecca's behavior. Because Charlotte remained kind throughout it all, others were proud of her. Individuals who were on the same flight contributed their own images. While others had seen Charlotte, they kept quiet out of consideration for her privacy. They felt compelled to tell the story now. Charlotte's little excursion had grown into a major event. The world was now aware of her courage throughout that voyage. Emma believed she was merely assisting a young girl when she pressed record on her phone. She had no notion that she was going to change everything and make history. Media frenzy and prompt action. The news quickly spread like wildfire when the posts were online. The story was taken up by major media outlets. While some commented on the girl's apparent bravery, others shared the footage. The girl wearing the hoodie was widely believed to be Princess Charlotte. The royal office quickly learned. They were unaware that Charlotte was flying alone. The security staff was taken aback. They quickly called and got to work looking for her. The tale was also seen by British Airways. Their telephones began to ring. To deal with the crisis, the managers convened. They had to determine what had occurred and how to react. It was serious. People were angry across the nation. A lot of parents sent notes on the internet. No young girl should be handled that way, they claimed. Royal supporters also raised their voices. They commended Charlotte's composed demeanor and offered her support. The hashtag continued to expand. Every hour, more people discussed it. According to some, the airline must act. Kind thoughts were given for Charlotte by others. The day's most important tale was what had begun as a straightforward journey. The entire globe was observing. Charlotte remained silent, but each video clip demonstrated her power. It found her even though she didn't ask for it. The crew began to hear things while the jet was still in the air. On a phone, one of them watched the footage. It showed Rebecca yelling at the reserved girl seated in seat 14A. Other crew members soon came to observe. The captain was hurriedly informed by one flight attendant. He called the ground using the radio. There was a problem, he replied, and they might have Princess Charlotte on board. The workforce instantly learned of the news. A few were perplexed. Others appeared anxious. Someone informed Rebecca that the girl might be a princess while she was still exploring the cabin. Rebecca didn't believe it at first. She dismissed it with a laugh. However, her expression altered when she looked closely at Charlotte. She suddenly realized everything. Her grin dimmed. She remained silent and motionless. Quiet and pale, she sat in the crew area. She was ignored by the other members of the squad. Everyone was on edge. The royal team started collaborating with British Airways employees on the ground. They had to make quick repairs. They began evaluating the crew's conduct and drafting a public statement. On the flight, the atmosphere changed. What had seemed like a typical day now felt burdensome. They all waited for the jet to touch down. Charlotte sat peacefully near the window as the plane prepared to land. The entire world was now watching and waiting for her. But she was unaware of it. Landing and the fallout. Everything seemed heavy when the plane landed in Edinburgh. In her seat, Charlotte remained silent. She clutched her backpack. Emma and Jake remained close by, their serene presence reassuring her. The Royal Protection crew was waiting at the airport gate. They appeared solemn and were dressed simply. They approached cautiously and nodded slightly to Charlotte. They took their time with her. They were aware that she had endured enough. Charlotte silently followed them. The family of Charlotte's buddy was smiling and waiting outside, but their smiles vanished as they noticed the cameras and the crowd.
At the airport, reporters were already present. The young princess was the object of everyone's desire. The family appeared perplexed. They hadn't anticipated this kind of attention. Rebecca was dragged aside by British Airways employees inside the airport. They informed her that she couldn't work until the situation was investigated. Rebecca had a startled expression. She sat with her head in her hands in the staff area. The CEO of the airline appeared before reporters later that night. He had a clear voice. He stated that the business was investigating the incident. He added that each traveler should receive considerate treatment. He apologized and pledged adjustments. The airline's desire to quickly repair the damage was evident. People began discussing Charlotte's flight from all around the world. Many people posted encouraging remarks online. They stated she was strong and polite in a difficult situation. She was praised by others as daring for attempting something so easy on her own. She was understood by many. They were aware that her primary goal was to have a typical trip. A lot of people talked about their own kids and how crucial it is to give them room to develop. Others discussed Rebecca's actions. They were offended that a flight attendant would behave in such a manner toward any child. People said that part of the job should be being kind and courteous. Some demanded greater attention to young travelers and improved training. Other passengers on the same trip contributed their ideas. Charlotte, they added, had been well-behaved, quiet, and polite. She was never troublesome. She always said thank you and complied with all the rules. A brand new hashtag became popular. To show support for Charlotte, people used the hashtag #LetRoyalsBeKids. They wrote that royal children ought to have the same freedoms as regular youngsters. Some famous people even joined in. They claimed that Charlotte's story demonstrated the difficulties of being in the spotlight. Despite her best efforts to remain anonymous, Charlotte's story gave many people a genuine topic of conversation. Everyone wanted to witness the courageous princess, and the cameras were rolling. However, everyone was going to be surprised by the actual shock that was yet to come. Changes and consequences. Following the revelation of the truth, events proceeded quickly. British Airways acted immediately. Rebecca was taken off duty and subsequently fired from the airline. The business apologized in public, stating that no one, whatever of identity, should be treated in such a manner. A thorough evaluation of their employee training was also revealed by the airline. They pledged to improve and show consideration and decency to each and every passenger. To ensure that no one is taken off guard again, they even implemented a new system to silently screen for well-known passengers. Charlotte also raised her voice. She stated in a low-key interview that all she needed was to feel normal for a day. She only expected politeness, nothing more. Many people were moved by what she said. In response, Kate and William expressed their wish that their children will be able to enjoy everyday activities without constant supervision. Rebecca included a message as well. She expressed regret for her behavior and acknowledged that she had allowed stress to control her. She lost her job as a result of her conduct. For her, it turned out to be a pivotal event. The flight mishap had a long-lasting effect. After reading the report, a number of airlines made the decision to implement significant adjustments. Employees now receive revised training that emphasizes respect and kindness. Even a respectful service course was launched by one airline. They included explicit instructions on how to handle each little flyer with care, specifically designed for instances like these. Staff members also received advice on how to deal with exceptional guests who might not want attention behind the scenes. These days, some refer to them as the Charlotte Guidelines. The participants also grew. Charlotte managed the situation with composure. She gained a lot of knowledge about people and the importance of behavior. She emerged from the encounter more resilient and reflective. Rebecca began a new chapter as well. She paused after quitting her work to reflect on what she had done. Later on, she started working with an organization that trains travel agents in customer service and empathy. The world learned a lesson from Charlotte's covert flight. Many lives were changed by one courageous decision. If this story resonated with you, please hit like, share with your friends, and subscribe for more real-life tales that encourage compassion and change.